Jimmy Garoppolo's stock is way, way up. I mean, his stock was as low as it could possibly be like 2 months ago. And now it's way up. And I think it's amazing. Real quick, before we talk about, we're going to go a lot of different angles, but I just think it's cool. Like, he's really easy to root for. And to me, I've been thinking like his character arc, his story arc is kind of like Job from the Bible. Like, he was easy to resent early on. You know, he had everything given to him after 7 starts, highest paid player in the league, you know, Dayton porn. Like, it just seemed like easy to hate on this guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's got everything and he hasn't accomplished anything. And so he was a source of a lot of criticism, kind of like Job. And like Satan comes in and it's like, oh man, look at this guy. He's got this biggest smile on his face. He thinks everything great. He's only happy because you've given him everything. And if you take everything away, he'll change. And then everything is taken away from Jimmy or Job. Everything, you know, fame, your job, your contract. You're a joke. You're basically humiliated. And you might not even feel good walking around San Jose. But then Job didn't get everything back, I don't think. Jimmy did. Jimmy's a starter again. And now it's like, man, you've been through hell. How do you not like Jimmy at this point? I do. I think that's kind of cool. Anyway.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was watching Cleveland and Pittsburgh last night, right? And you know, they do the upcoming game schedule, and then they showed the graphic for Sunday Night Football. And Jimmy G was like the guy that was on the graphic for the 49ers. Like wow, I'm like, wow, that was quick. Like, you just like he's the backup quarterback, and he's the guy like that's on the graphic for the 49ers. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like I called this show, like, are the Niners on the verge of a showdown between their coach and their head quarterback? What I like about Jimmy, all of a sudden, since he's been through this, since the Niners humiliated him, made him a backup, didn't extend his contract, he's gone next year. He has a little bit of like freedom at the press conference to say his story, because really, he's just been quiet, and you know, he's been the good soldier the last 4 years. Big contract, can't complain. And what he's saying is, hey, it's not that I don't want to throw downfield. He won't let me. The coach won't let me. It's like, oh, you didn't talk like this in the past. All of a sudden, you're basically calling Kyle out in a very polite way, saying if we're not pushing the ball down the field, talk to Kyle and that micromanaging manager, because I want to sling it. He won't let me. He doesn't believe in me. And it's like, well, we know the Niners have no chance win the Super Bowl with that micromanaging, no passing offense. We don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo can pull off what he wants to do, but I think everyone wants Kyle to give Jimmy the opportunity. Maybe not everyone. I certainly do.
I think it was Jesse that made this point though, right? Like in 2017, when he did let him throw down the field, he threw a lot more interceptions. So I think
he throws interceptions one way or another. I don't think his interception percentage was super higher in that year. I mean, you just got to live with those. He's not the smartest quarterback. He doesn't make the best decisions. But taking the ball out of his hands and then asking him to make a big throw in the Super Bowl, like, that's never going to happen. You have to build up his confidence, not tear it down.
Like, I don't think they should be taking deep shots like they should with Lance, but don't take it out of the arsenal. And he's got to show that, and he's got to show that he can do it, right? Like, that he can execute it. Like, what's the point if he's not going to be able to execute it?
With more deep shots than Lance did. I mean, Kyle is such a micromanager. He wasn't calling. He called 4 deep shots for Lance.
He did actually hit Dwelly when he was wide open down the field in the last game, right?
He missed a bunch in the game, but I like that he's at least trying. Anyway, I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to all of a sudden win the Super Bowl and that Kyle's been holding him back and he's this great quarterback. I'm not saying that. But I do feel – I feel for him now, because a lot of my criticism for Jimmy is, 1, he can't stay healthy, and 2, he won't push the ball down the field. Well, none of Kyle's quarterbacks stay healthy. And Jimmy is blaming Kyle for this. So now, like, Kyle, what do you got to say? Are you going to say, like, Jimmy's full of it and he has the green light and he won't cut it loose? Like, what is the story here? Or is Jimmy correct? Have you really been saying, I don't trust you? And are you right? Because if Jimmy's as bad as Kyle thinks, then the Niners aren't going to win a Super Bowl. But if Jimmy's as good as Jimmy thinks, then the Niners just might. So I don't know.
Right. And I think I've tweeted this out before, but I think the major thing that's going for him is that he's in a contract year. So like, this always works out for the 49ers. Like, when they get players in contract years, all of a sudden they start doing things that they don't do in other years. So this might be, all of a sudden Jimmy might star might be able to throw the ball down the field. He might throw less interceptions. I know all Kyle's quarterbacks get hurt, but maybe he stays healthy.
What if Jimmy could do more than that too? I mean, he could call his own plays. If Kyle calls a play that he doesn't like, he could be like, "Hey guys, I'm calling it." I mean, Joe Montana used to do that. Like he could go up to the line and actually call a freaking audible, not just like the kill, but like, hey, he could do whatever he wants. What's Kyle gonna do? Bench him for Brock Purdy? That's a joke. That's a joke, honestly. And I know Jimmy knows it, and it's probably not in his nature. But let's be honest, the team backs him, not Kyle. He's the one with the winning record, not Kyle. He has a lot of power here, and he played the good guy role. He took the backup. Everyone respects him on the team. Now, Kyle needs him. He's at his mercy, and we'll just have to see what Jimmy does about it. It's going to be interesting. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do. So, you know what? If you think you know a better way to play quarterback than Kyle, go do it, dude. No one's holding you back. Kyle just has to stand there and hope that you can win. That dude with his sub 500 winning percentage. I love this dude. I love Jimmy Garoppolo. All of a sudden, I'm his biggest fan.
Are the 49ers the most interesting team in the NFL?
Yes.
Like should they be doing the Dos Equis commercial? Like,
absolutely. Yes. I just love that. I love the Jimmy Garoppolo character. I'm not saying they're better with Jimmy than they were with Trey. I have no idea, but I like this idea that I was kind of down that Jimmy was coming back. It's like, oh no, we've seen this, but it's like, no, there's a wrinkle. Maybe what we've seen is Kyle having a adverse effect on him, and we never thought that, right? Like, you're getting the most out of Jimmy, yeah, but what you're doing is handcuffing him and telling him you suck, and I'm gonna work around you, which is like not the best way to coach, in my opinion. And I think that's what Jimmy's saying. He's like, hey man, give me some freedom, let me play with confidence, and that we see Mike McDaniel doing that with Tua in Miami. At least it's been 2 games. Maybe that'll fall apart, but Jimmy's not less gifted than Tua. I mean, they're similar, in the same tier, I would think. So Kyle, come on, man. Tell him to cut it loose. He's got Danny Gray. That's why you drafted him.
I mean, you could also argue, and we'll see how this year plays out, that this roster is better than the 2019 one. I mean, the defense certainly, like, yeah, Bosa was on that 2019, but he was a rookie, right? Like, Bosa now is better than Bosa in 2019. And I know DeForest was on the team, but
that's not who I was going to say. Mostert.
No.
Mostert was key.
Yeah, the running back, but Debo is better now than he was in 2019.
That's true.
You have
but they did have a running back that they could give 28 carries to in the NFC Championship game, and that Mostert was lightning in a bottle that year.
Let's TBD. I think a lot of their players, I think
Mitchell could. He's coming back. He could get hot down the stretch and have a huge playoff game.
Mitchell or freaking Mason. Like, I mean, you and I have been big Mason guys. I think he just needs a chance. Like,
Mostert was kind of like Debo before Debo. They're like the big long runs, the long touchdown. Yeah. He was key. But anyway, I mean, I'm not saying they're not as good. I'm not disagreeing with you. That's just the one guy that came to my head is Mostert. That running back position is key for this team.
But I think overall, like, okay, running back, but I think one of those running backs could end up developing, Mitchell coming back. I think overall their skills are better than in 2019. I know we could talk about the offensive. Trent Williams is better than Joe Staley. And Mike McGlinchey is Mike McGlinchey. I think the interior by the end of the year could end up being better than the interior in 2019. I mean, one of the big problem in that Super Bowl is they couldn't handle Chris Jones. Maybe one of those guards in the future could handle a guy like Chris Jones, and by the time they get to the playoffs, hopefully they have a record that's good enough to get them in. Right, we're seeing right now that those interior guys are getting better every week. So,
yeah, I agree.